Good evening. This is the Athens City Shade Tree Commission meeting for October 11th, 2017. We have no tree permit or right-of-way issues, so we'll move straight to the Title 37 landscape ordinance issues, of which we have one. And I believe, Mike, you're going to introduce us to this property and the plans.
Sure.
Could you just introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Mike Knoll, architect. I'm working with Demetrius on his new office building at the corner of Carpenter and East State Street. We are excited that we're finally be able to move forward with that piece of property. His original structure had caught on fire, had burned down, or had quite a bit of it caught on fire. So we are planning a new building, and our approach, as you can see, is to put the landscaping around the perimeter. We have setbacks all the way around it that we can get the plantings in that particular area. Along Carpenter, we've gone with a medium-sized tree at the building itself, where the building is next to those trees, so that the trees will not grow into the building and be affected by the building. And then once we get beyond the building, we have put some larger maples. I like the maples for the color, especially this time of the year with that. And then along the back of the property, we have dogwoods and some maples and I believe some pin oaks along that property line, which is butted up against a B2, a parking lot, and then an R3 apartments, or not apartments, but homes on the backside. So we've taken that landscape buffer there and put our larger trees in to provide a bigger buffer between our building and the residential itself. And then as you go east on East State Street, we're utilizing a couple of existing trees. I believe the one is, help me out here, it's been a while since I did the drawings.
It's a pin oak.
A pin oak, yes. And then,
birch, I think is
yeah, I think a birch, which we need to do a little bit of trimming on to improve it. It's a clump tree, and I think if we do a little bit of we can turn that into a nice tree at that location, and then placing some medium-sized trees between the two at that location. I think there's a couple of dogwoods near those trees, realizing that those bigger mature trees will end up shading whatever we plant there, and the dogwood loves the foliage and the cover of it. I love the dogwood because it's a beautiful tree in the spring with its large flowers and stuff, and then in the fall when it turns red. So that was kind of the landscaping design. There is some planting beds along Carpenter in the parking lot. The purpose of those is to break up the parking lot that exists there with some, I think boxwoods is what I've shown on there, and then some vertical shrubs to kind of give it a character. The design of the building is kind of a little bit of a Greek design, not pillars or anything, but kind of a modern Greek. It'll be a white building, and I think the background of the white with the landscaping we've selected will accent those trees. And then I like the evergreens, the boxwoods, and the vertical junipers, I think is what I've selected there, to have some color in the wintertime and to provide some color there. And I think we've got a little patio behind the building. I like to provide patios in my designs so that the people using the building have a semi-private space that they can go to, and there's some landscaping, some small shrubs in that area, some junipers in that area as well. Then, so that's the basic idea and a concept I've selected with it. rely on any recommendations by this committee. You've got probably a little more experience. I did meet with Greenleaf out on Columbus Road, preparing the design to talk about what they have available, what they can help us with, even though these plantings will probably occur in the spring once the building is completed then, at that time then, with it. And oh, by the way, if you want some dogwoods, they've got some great dogwoods there. Then some mature dogwoods, which is unusual to find this time of the year. Normally they're all bought up by now then, so just a little bit of advertising for them.
Good. I think the area that you've got here requires 10 large shade trees, and so that'll be the summary that I give over to Rick.
What's the requirement?
10 large shade trees. There are actually 9 large shade trees and then 2 medium trees there, so the 2 mediums make up for that one missing large trees. And then, yeah, as you say, you've got a very nice selection of small trees in there as well. We don't normally count small trees in with our counting unless you've got a high voltage cable that the crew's using the medium or the large trees. So
and some of those have been used. The power line comes across Carpenter to the midpoint of the site. And that's where I put the smaller trees to stay out of the power lines, because we will drop off of that power pole to the back of our building and be able to that's why there's some of the smaller trees there. We also have a couple small trees, 4 of them, along the streetscape there, and they are, I think one's a honey locust at that location, and then there are 3 that I think are crab apples then, which will add some nice color in the spring. Then.
So the line isn't showing, the electric line isn't showing in
It doesn't, it would show on the Title 41 drawings. I apologize if that's something you guys like to see. I could sketch that out for you if you'd like to know where that is.
I've visited the site. I can see where it'll be coming in. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, it's got dogwoods across the back.
Yeah, that's where it'll probably come in. And I think your selection of species is fine, and it's good to work with a local supplier because they usually have the trees that are appropriate for this area.
Would they be doing the planting?
That's a good question. I'll let that up to the owner.
Okay.
And depending on, Mr. Prokos has a large maintenance staff, and depending on when it is, at the time of the year and what he has available for his manpower, they may do it, although I would help supervise those.
Good, done. Because some of the plantings that they have done have not been done as we recommend.
Okay.
In fact, you can see in the picture of the planting diagram over the side there, they have Mike's got a pretty good idea as to what should be there.
Right.
You're showing the mulch away from the edge of the tree, and I think that's what my colleague is referring to.
Also, the root flare should be above the planting line, and it looks like there is a slight increase in diameter there, so that's good.
Yeah. So you've drawn it correctly. The trick is to get them.
Whether it gets planted that way.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've used volunteers to do it on several of the parks. Dog Park, we put those trees in, if you remember, and those were sorority girls and Boy Scouts doing that. They've survived at that location. And of course, down on Richland Avenue, we put several trees in down in that area at Dr. Ram Gwanzi's flower area then. So.
One more comment about the existing dogwoods that you mentioned.
They're crab apples. There's no dogwoods.
Oh, I thought you had said before that there were some dogwoods
what I'd indicated that Greenleaf has some existing dogwoods. It's unusual to find them this late in the season.
Right, no, but before that, you said, okay.
But we don't have any existings on site. No, we basically have the pin oak and the
crab apples.
The crab apples and the one locust, and then an elm. I think it's a beech tree back on the one corner.
Any other questions? I take it there are no objections to approving this plan? In that case, I'll write that up and send it to you. And the expectation is there should be 10 large shade trees, but 2 of them are going to, or 2 trees are now going to replace one of those.
We appreciate you putting them in.
Yes, yeah. And we like all those extra pieces you're putting in there as well. It's very good.
The species of the one that's.
So, thank you.
But what about the one that's resistant to the
And the next item of business is the report by Assistant Service Director Ron Lucas. So, what are you going to tell us, Ron?
Well, we got our America in Bloom report back, and it was very exciting. I can forward it to the group if you'd like to read it. But we were a 4 out of 5 Bloom City for our first time, and that's a good achievement. So the report goes on to discuss our strengths, our weaknesses, and it will give us an opportunity to correct those as we proceed with the America in Bloom status. So with that said, I will ask you, members of the Shade Tree Commission, to be on different parts of that committee so that we can come up with a more robust tour next year and do some of the things that they recommend the city do to increase our Bloom score. It's an interesting report, it really is. From a award perspective, we did not get any awards at the America in Bloom Symposium. However, we were nominated for a couple of them. One was use of art in public spaces, particularly the recycling, the cigarette recycling bins, was very, very. They were very impressed with that, and then they were impressed with our. They were impressed with our landscape, our trees. They had. It's a good report, so I'll forward it to you so you can read it. Fall planting needs to be coming up here soon. So if there's any recommended tree sites, I know that we need to plant some trees on Court Street to replace some and other areas throughout the city. I am debating going out to a contract form of tree removal next year instead of calling particular tree removal companies to remove trees on their schedule, to do more of a contract type of service where please remove X amount of trees, provide a schedule, things of that nature, because we're really having a difficult time getting trees removed right now due to the amount of ash trees that have died. It would be open to bid to anyone that would want, and the hope would be that a local company would see that and bid on it. There are quite a few. So
you might want to consider having 2 contractors and not just one.
And those are some that's good advice. Yeah. That's good advice. Thank you. I didn't think about that, but it's really in the idea is in its infancy. But it's coming from the difficulty it is to get trees removed in a timely way. So there's some frustrated people out there that want these trees removed, and they're contracted, but it's not happening quick enough. So. Yep. So if you have any sites for the fall tree planting, feel free to email them to me. We'll get some stuff planted. And the Tree City USA recertification is just hit my desk a couple of days ago, so I'll work on that and become a Tree City USA for the 28th consecutive year, I believe it will be. Hopefully, maybe 27th. I think it's 28th.
It's 20-something, 25-something. 25. It was higher than 25.
It's higher than 25. I believe it'll be the 28th consecutive year. And I was contacted by, this might be the gentleman here. What's your name again? Brad. About having some assistance with developing the Arbor Day program for 2018. So Brad's a fellow certified arborist, and he is interested in helping out with the planning of that event. Okay. That's all I have.
The swimming pool site. There are some small trees that have been left after some big trees have been taken down from that island that was in the parking lot of the swimming pool site. And I have questions from not just community members, but a couple of council members as well, as to why those small trees have been left. Do you have any?
Let me follow up on that and get you an answer.
Okay. Because at least two large bald cypresses were taken down from that parking lot, and then these little small trees were left. It could be they're being left because the contractor doing the work said they wanted the big ones taken down by a specialist, and they were just going to take down the small one themselves.
So is this the parking lot side, the old parking lot side, or the side towards the back?
It's where the parking lot is closest to East State Street.
Okay.
There's an island in that parking lot, and there were several large bald cypresses in there that when we did the landscape a number of years ago in that area, those were left. In fact, the design was done around those big bald cypresses.
Okay. I'll get you an answer.
Okay. And the other question that we had, of course it's rained now, so the trees at the Stimpson Avenue roundabout should have been watered this time with rain, but there was some concern during the drought that those trees were being watered. Do you know if they were being watered or if they...
I don't think they were, but
okay.
I can talk to our landscaping staff about that.
Yeah, because it was a pretty stressful time for newly planted trees.
Actually, that's university property in it.
Also a concern, the new trees in the parking lot, the entrance, the central entrance there where there are 4 trees planted.
What site are we talking about?
On East State Street, the Market on State, big parking lot there.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't appear that those trees were being watered.
Oh, okay.
They were showing signs of stress early, and there's also, doesn't look like there's been weeding done among the stone mulch.
Yeah. Well, that's a private site, and so there's not much we can do about that one.
Oh, okay.
But
they planted trees because they.
Oh yeah.
We might let them know that if those trees will have to be replaced if they're not.
Yep. Yeah, they will have to be replaced. Any other questions for Ron?
Quick question. I ran into Susan Calhoun the other day. I guess there's a big dead tree in front of the church on campus, and people are asking her about it, but it turns out it's city land.
University Terrace?
Yeah.
I know exactly the tree. That's one of the trees I'm talking about. So it's contracted out, but I don't have any way of getting a schedule for the contractor.
Well, she found out I was on the Shade Tree Commission, and she said that, she'd be willing to cut it down, but obviously wanted to check with you first on that. But I guess she's getting a lot of questions because people assume it's an OU property.
I know that Dale Richmond was working on trees this week. It could be down. I don't know. I haven't driven past there, but it is on our trees to remove that have been contracted.
Would there be a problem with the university taking it down? That before in the past we've let private property owners take down a tree if if we couldn't get to it sooner and if they were willing to pay for it.
It's city property, and it's our tree. It's our responsibility. So I've done some things with Susan like that in the past.
Okay.
Trading services.
Speaking of which,
there are 2 trees with children's services. It's State Street with the property right behind the fence. Mm-hmm. And they've been dead forever.
One of them has come down. One of them has been taken down.
Say what?
One of them has been taken down recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's our right of way. That's those are 2 of the trees on, again, those are 2 of the trees.
About 3 weeks.
It's just people coming off the freeway head right into those 2 trees.
Yeah.
Where they put the signs.
Yep.
The
And
banners.
the pinwheels.
They took it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were pretty dead.
Any other questions for Ron? Is there any other business?
Do you like that we're meeting at 4?
Excuse me?
Do you like that we've made
I do.
meeting at 4?
Perfect.
I do also, since I was at BZA last night. So thank you. Maybe I'd touch a little bit on our Nancy's and my visit at 5 Charles and 4 Euclid. We went over there and finally got together and identified some areas of the trees are missing and et cetera. So I just received today your sample letter in an email, so I haven't had the opportunity to look at it. But I'll do a draft and I'll forward you a copy to see if the language is okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll go forward and see and send that to the property owners, the responsible parties.
Okay.
Oh, did you send it out?
I forwarded it to Rick so he could have a look at
I
it.
brought copies.
Yeah.
Everybody else was talking about that after.
Anything else? Did you want to raise anything at all? No. Okay, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. In that case, we have the minutes of the last meeting. If people would look over those. I think I got the attendance right.
So I'll move we accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Jim.
I second that.
Thank you, Emily. Any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, we have approved minutes. Our next meeting will be November the 8th at 4 p.m. again in the City Council chambers. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.